in the room trying to keep Trump in line. And could well have been Sessions.
Well, it's that time again.
You see, I think this is the
for reading.
That Trump and Sessions
I'm going to
They're getting all these folks that normally wouldn't support Sessions.
Give a reading.
And I believe one of the ramifications, Dave, going back to the
What?
of this document, one of the ramifications could well
Question is what do I want to read?
why now? One of the reasons why now because the global
Well, this is the man behind the curtain in his office, doing a little bit of research study, and I'm going to share some of the wisdom with you. I think I want to read a little bit out of County Sheriff's Handbook. That should be interesting. Oh, excuse me. Let me scan through here real quick and see what I want to share with you. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Let's try this one. This is duty of a county sheriff. The sheriff is to support and defend the law of the land, aka the Constitution and the laws of nature, God, aka common law by which the former is invested. We, the people who are vested by the latter, not legislative bodies. We are a nation governed by the common laws of God, which makes our law superior and more just than any other nation's law. Therefore, the oath of county sheriff is a sacred oath which, when violated, is a direct assault upon God, whose judgment will not rest forever. Thomas Jefferson professed America's covenant between God and we the people when he penned the following. Are you ready for this? When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and the nature's God entitled them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. You get that? Okay, outstanding. I can go into the sheriff and the court, duty of a sheriff in the court. You know, when you see the bailiff and the sheriffs inside the court during due process, do you know that he's supposed to be neutral and honor the oath that he took to protect and preserve the Constitution and the provisions of the amendments in the due process? He's not there to protect he's there to protect the judge, but he's not there to take the judge's side. Do you know that if you have two witnesses in the courtroom and the judge holds you contempt of court because you are standing up for certain provisions, the judge has actually committed a crime. It is the duty of the sheriff to make the judge recuse himself or arrest the judge for crimes. It's that simple. A lot of people don't know that, but that's the collusion part you get with them when they're all in there. You got the attorney, the public defender, which is the public defender, public pretender. A lot of people say that. And the judge, and the bailiff, and the authority figures in the courtroom are all in collusion, honestly. Let's see. Oh, here's a good one. sheriff and warrants. Now this is to do with the Fourth Amendment. It says, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath of affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons and things to be seized. Wow, you can break that whole thing down. The right to the people to be secure in their persons and houses and papers. So that objects those ID issues, the Gestapo papers, asking for Gestapo papers when you're driving in your privacy, but they only have power delegated to them for uniform commercial codes, which is a distinctive difference that most people don't know and never question it. They just give in, bow, pay the illegal bill of attainder, and get robbed. You allow it. You don't know. It's what they say it is. So I would like for people to know, so you can question it. And when you do question it, you question it by writing. So we're at 6 minutes here, so let's continue on. Okay, say, according to Black's Law Dictionary, I love that. I got 2 Black's Law Dictionaries, a 5th edition and 6th edition. It has case laws in correlation to single words that you look up, law words. There's a distinctive difference in a word game between law and the masses. They trick the masses by Webster dictionaries and different types of dictionaries with the meaning of words that they want the population and the masses to know. And then the law institutions have a different dictionary and books to almost like a different language, honestly. And that's what they utilize to rob people and trick them by scheme, believe it or not. According to Black's Law Dictionary, the word oath, in its broadest sense, includes all forms of anticipation by which a party signifies that he or she is bound in conscience by a solemn and formal declaration or asseveration that an affidavit is true. No warrant, including a federal warrant, is to be served without going through the sheriff's office. You get that? Did you hear that? I'll read that one more time. No warrant, doesn't matter if it's FBI, federal, whatever, still got to go through any other institutions, through the executive branch, by the delegated power, by the 10th Amendment, by the Constitution, has to go through the Sheriff's Department. Do you hear that? The Sheriff's Department for a warrant. No warrant, including a federal warrant, is to be served without going through the Sheriff's office. Any warrant without a sworn affidavit and judge's wet ink signature is not a stamp, is not an executable warrant. It is the sheriff's duty to make sure that all warrants, federal or state, served within their county passes constitutional scrutiny test. IRS warrants rarely pass constitutional scrutiny. For example, the IRS has a Form 4490 called Proof of Claim for Internal Revenue Taxes, which is an affidavit form that must be filled out and sworn to, without which the warrant with the wet ink signature is not executable. So that means it's got to have a wet signature, a true signature. Okay, I can get into the sheriff and county jail, but I'm not going to get into that one because, well, I guess I should. We're at 8 minutes now. Let's see, sheriff and the county jail. Sheriff offices maintain and operate county jails or other detention centers, community corrections, facilities such as work release and halfway houses. Sheriffs are responsible for supervising inmates, protecting their rights. You hear that? Protecting their rights and providing food, clothing, exercise, recreation, and medical services. Before the sheriff is to accept any prisoner, he is to make sure that due process has been exercised. You hear that? I'll read that again. Before a sheriff is to accept any prisoner, he is to make sure that due process has been exercised. If a court sends a prisoner sentenced to be incarcerated, and there was no indictment and a petit jury trial by 12 jurists before the sentencing, the prisoner is now a victim who was not giving due process. You hear that? They put you in jail before they give you due process. That's a crime. Let's see, I'll read that part again. Before the sentencing, prisoner is now a victim who was not giving due process. The sheriff cannot accept the prisoner. Unfortunately, because of ignorance, county jails are filled with such prisoners. Black's law defines an infamous crime as a crime punishable by imprisonment. Okay. Then it gets into the Fifth Amendment, gives you some information. Actually, it says, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on the presentment or indictment of a grand jury. So most crimes with victims and property damage must have a true affidavit. Remember that. If they don't have a true affidavit, it's not a crime. Then you're consenting into an unknown contract, therefore, for an infraction, an unconstitutional act, code, bill of attainder. I mean, it's all right there in the contract. It's your contract. Okay. Sixth Amendment, in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury. The sheriff cannot accept any prisoners that were tried in courts not of record, because they are nisus prius courts and do not have the power to fine or incarcerate. So there's certain courts that can't really put you in jail unless, again, I'll go right back to as my studies and as studying the law, constitutional law, not the scheme of law. It's good to study the scheme of law too, but remember, in order for an actual crime to have occurred, there has to be elements of a crime. So you need to know the elements of a crime. And usually elements of a crime has a victim, or property damage, or an actual violation against the contract, the Constitution of the sister states, all in harmony. Okay, courts not of record are those of inferior dignity which have no power to fine or imprison, in which the proceedings are not enrolled or recorded. Wow. And it gives some case laws here. 3B1 Commons 24, 3 Commons 383, Thomas Fletcher. So it goes. There's a whole bunch of. You're not going to understand all those. Most people don't. Let's see. Sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer of the county. The sheriff is the chief executive and administrative officer of the county, being chosen by popular election. His principal duties are in aid of the criminal courts and civil courts of record, such as serving process, summons juries, executing judgments, holding the judicial cells, and the like. He is also the chief conservator of the peace within his territory jurisdiction. And it gives a case law, Harston versus Langston, or Texas Civ, AP 292 SW 648-650. When used in a statute, the term may include a deputy sheriff, and it gives a case law. The famous Justice Scalia, writing for the majority in 1997 decision, said that the states are not subject to federal direction, and the U.S. Congress only had discrete and enumerated powers, and that the federal impotency was rendered express by the 10th Amendment. And I see it's telling the police all powers delegated to them all result back to the Constitution. That means they had promised to the Constitution, they have to obey the Constitution. The Constitution has provisions. Each state has provisions. He further confirmed that the sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer of the county and also proclaimed that the states retain inviolable sovereignty. Scalia went even further in this landmark decision, one which to small town sheriffs headed the feds off at the pass and sent them on their way. So basically, the feds don't have more authority than the sheriffs. The sheriffs have more authority than the feds. So Scalia, also in infinite obligations to the Constitution, took this entire ruling to the 10th power when he said, revolves powers under the power back to the 10th Amendment. It says, the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions so that we may resist the temptation to concentrate power in one location as an immediate solution to the crisis of the day. Obviously, the sheriffs, the people's last line of defense against a government gone wrong. Well, I hope you understand that. I want to share those thoughts with you. Quick reading. I will stop at that, and want to say again, I love you guys. God bless you. God bless America. God bless our nation. And that's the wisdom I'm going to share with the man behind the curtain. Thanks. Bye.